didn't think twice when you turned on the water this morning. Same tap, same towel, same routine you followed for decades. But as you stood there, hands under the faucet, you felt it. The hesitation. You've started to move slower these days. Certain spots are harder to reach. And some mornings, you tell yourself it's fine to skip a few things. You're not going anywhere. No one's watching. What's the harm? But here's what most people never realize. The parts of you that are easiest to forget are the same ones keeping you alive. You wiped your hands dry, stared at the face in the mirror. Older, yes, but still here, still watching. And you remembered something your doctor once said, offhand. People don't get sick from what they don't touch. They get sick from what they don't clean. You didn't ask him to explain, but those words stayed with you. So today, you did something different. You slowed down, and you started with a spot you hadn't given much thought to in years. Behind your ears, not your scalp, not your neck. That warm fold where oil builds quietly, where bacteria love to hide. You took a warm cloth, no harsh soap, and gently wiped behind both ears. And when you did, you felt something unexpected. Relief. Not dramatic, not loud, just a small return to something you hadn't known you were missing. Because here's the truth. 1. Washing behind your ears protects your skin and reduces bacterial buildup, especially after 60. As your skin thins with age, the natural oils that once moisturized evenly begin to collect in certain places. Behind the ears becomes one of the most forgotten, and it matters more than you'd expect, because when it isn't cleaned regularly, those oils oxidize. The skin weakens, and infections, yes, real ones, can begin quietly, especially if you wear glasses, hearing aids, or simply rest your head in the same spot each night. You didn't realize how different it felt to clean with attention instead of routine. You paused, touched the towel to your skin again, and said, almost out loud, I'm still taking care of this body. I haven't given up. You added it to your notebook, behind the ears, daily, with intention, not because someone told you to, but because you finally remembered that hygiene isn't about looking good, it's about staying present. And if this moment reminded you how easy it is to forget the things that quietly keep us well, then you're not alone, and you're not too late to begin again. If this story helped you slow down, if it brought you back to your own care, please consider subscribing. Because here, we don't just talk about routines, we talk about returning to yourself, one small act at a time. Later in the video, you'll uncover the second body part, one that hides in plain sight and may be the quiet reason so many older adults struggle with inflammation and illness. After drying your ears, you stood still for a moment in the bathroom, towel in hand, mirror in front of you, light pouring through the curtain like a soft reminder that you'd made it to another day. You breathed in, and you asked yourself, what else have I stopped tending to? Not out of laziness, not out of shame, just because. No one talks about these things anymore. No one reminds you how important they still are. But your body remembers, especially the parts that carry your weight, hold your balance, and still ask for your attention, quietly, every day. You sat on the edge of your bed, rolled up your pant leg, and took a good look at your knees, not just the skin, but the folds behind them, the space where sweat and heat and time gather quietly, day after day. It's a place we stop noticing, but it's also where something deeper begins. 2. Washing behind the knees supports blood flow, reduces swelling, and helps prevent circulation problems. You'd never thought of that before, but as you ran a warm cloth across the back of your knee, not quickly, but slowly, you felt something unexpected. Warmth. And then, just beneath that, a lightness. like your body had been waiting for you to return to this part of yourself. Science says the area behind the knees, known as the popliteal fossa, is more than just a crease. It's home to key arteries and veins that support healthy leg circulation, especially in older adults who sit longer, walk less, or suffer from stiffness. When this area is left uncleaned, bacteria and skin cells build up. It gets inflamed, and inflammation slows everything down, from movement to blood flow to the very comfort you feel while resting. You didn't need fancy products, just water, a cloth, your hand. You wiped slowly, both legs, down the calves, around the knees, behind them. And as you stood up again, you noticed a difference. Your legs didn't feel younger. They felt noticed. You wrote it down in your notebook, behind the ears, behind the knees, every morning. If I want to keep walking, I have to keep caring. Not out of fear, but out of gratitude. Because these knees have held you when you ran to catch a bus, when you fell to the floor in laughter, when you bent down to pick up a grandchild. They've given you so much. And now, you give something small in return. Attention. You folded the towel, looked at your reflection again, and whispered to yourself, I still have time to take care of what's been carrying me. And you do. Later in the video, you'll discover the third body part, one that most people think is fine to ignore, but that may silently affect your nervous system and emotional health more than you know. You didn't plan to keep going. You thought 2 would be enough for one morning. But once you started, something inside you began to wake up. Not just your skin, your awareness. Because for the first time in a long time, you weren't just cleaning yourself. You were reconnecting. And with every slow wipe, every moment of touch, you felt closer to the body you've spent so many years simply trying to keep moving. Now, you were listening to it. You stood again, stretched your arms, and as your hands moved behind your neck, you paused, right there, at the base of the skull, between the shoulders, along the upper spine, that tight, folded place where tension hides, where heat builds, where you rest your head at night, but rarely ever clean with care. And suddenly, you knew. This was the next one. 3. Wash the back of your neck daily to reduce stress, skin inflammation, and lymph congestion. You grabbed a soft washcloth, warm water, nothing more. You let it rest across your shoulders for a moment. The heat melted into you like something you forgot you needed. Then you wiped. Slow, upward strokes. Not hard, not fast. And something inside you softened. The neck is often ignored. We wash the face. We rinse the hair. But the back of the neck? That's where lymphatic flow, nerve tension, and emotional residue collect quietly. And as we age, that buildup contributes to headaches, fatigue, brain fog, stiffness, and poor posture. But more than that, it becomes a place where we store what we don't process. Grief, stress, anger, all of it settles between the shoulders, until you finally decide to release it. You wiped slowly down to the tops of your shoulders, rolled your head from side to side, and for the first time in weeks, your neck didn't feel like it was holding the weight of your life. It felt free. You wrote it in your notebook. Behind the ears, behind the knees, back of the neck, especially at night. Because I don't need to carry everything I don't speak. You folded the towel, ran your fingers along the back of your neck once more, just to say, I didn't forget you today. And that sentence, that small act of recognition, became your new posture. Not shoulders back in defiance, but heart open in calm. Later in the video, you'll discover the fourth body part, one that's even more overlooked, but deeply tied to your body's cooling system, digestion, and daily vitality. You felt lighter today, not younger, not faster, but more present, because something has changed, not just in your body, but in your relationship with it. This daily practice, it's not about hygiene anymore. It's about connection. You're not rushing. You're not skipping. You're moving with attention, as if every part of you still matters. Because it does. And now, it's time to tend to the part of you that works quietly, faithfully, and is almost always overlooked. Your belly. You stood in front of the mirror, lifted your shirt gently, and saw it, not as something to judge, but something to care for, to thank, because beneath that soft skin lies your center, the organs that nourish you, the muscles that hold you upright, the core of everything that's kept you going. And like the others, this part deserves more than a rinse. It deserves touch. 4. Gently wash and massage your abdomen to support digestion, circulation, and inner calm. You took a warm cloth, no scrubbing, just slow, circular motion around the navel, then outward, across the ribs, down toward the pelvis, along the sides. You breathed in slowly, out even slower. Your hands weren't cleaning, they were acknowledging, and science supports this. Massaging and cleansing the abdomen stimulates your vagus nerve, supports lymphatic drainage, and helps regulate digestion, especially in older adults who struggle with bloating, constipation, and abdominal tension. But more than that, it tells your nervous system, you are safe, you are not rushing, you are cared for. You paused afterward, sat down with your notebook, and wrote, behind the ears, behind the knees, back of the neck, abdomen, slowly, every morning. Because I am not ashamed of this belly, I am grateful for it. You touched your stomach one more time, held it with both hands, and said something simple, soft enough that only you could hear it. Thank you for carrying me. It didn't ask for perfection, only presence, and that's what you gave. Later in the video, you'll complete the list with the 5th and final body part, one you use every day without thinking, but that, when neglected, can quietly affect your dignity, your health, and your sense of being fully you. The list is nearly complete, not just in your notebook, but in your body, in your awareness. Each day now starts with more presence, more stillness, more care. You no longer see bathing as a task. You see it as a quiet form of devotion, not to cleanliness, but to continuing. And today, you reach the final place, one most people avoid talking about, even to themselves. But you don't avoid it anymore, because you've learned something true. Shame fades when care steps in. You step into the bathroom, close the door, let the water run warm, and this time, you don't skip. You don't rush. You tend to the part of you that you've depended on your whole life. Your feet. 5. Wash your feet with full attention, because they hold your history. They've walked every mile, held your weight through joy and grief, stumbled, stood again, carried you through decades. And they've aged. The skin is thinner, the nails slower to grow, the balance a little shakier now. But they are still yours, and they are still worth touching with kindness. You sit down safely, lift one foot at a time, warm cloth, gentle lather, between the toes, around the heels, underneath where tension hides. You don't criticize them. You don't wish them younger. You just wash. Because studies show that daily foot care in older adults reduces risk of falls, lowers infection, improves circulation, and, most importantly, restores your relationship to where you stand. literally and emotionally. You dry them with the softest towel you have. Apply a little lotion. Massage each arch with care. And when you're done, you don't feel cleaner. You feel seen, even if the only person who saw you was you. You return to your notebook, and you write the final line. Behind the ears, behind the knees, back of the neck, abdomen, feet, daily, with care. Because this is where I stand, and I will not stand in shame. You close the book, place the towel on its rack, and for a long moment, you simply breathe. You are not just washed, you are restored. This was never about hygiene, it was about dignity, because a longer life isn't only made in hospitals and prescriptions, it's made in the way you greet your body each morning, with slowness, with attention, with love. If this story reminded you that your body is still worth tending to, that your days still deserve intention, please consider subscribing. Because here, we don't just talk about what keeps you clean, we talk about what keeps you whole.